China fires missiles near Taiwan in live fire drills as PLA encircled the island. CNN, China fired multiple missiles toward the waters near northern eastern and southwestern Taiwan on Thursday, the Iceland Defense Ministry said, as Beijing makes good on its promise that Taipei will pay a price for hosting U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. The Chinese military's Eastern Theater Command said in a statement that multiple missiles had been fired into the sea off the eastern part of Taiwan. It said all the missiles hit their target accurately. The entire live fire training mission has been successfully completed and the relevant air and sea area control is now lifted, China's statement said. Earlier, the Eastern Theater Command said it had conducted long-range live fire training in the Taiwan Strait. The state broadcast CCTV reported as part of planning military exercises around this island. Taiwan reported Chinese long-range rocket has fallen near its island of Matsu, Wukui, Dongguan, which are in the Taiwan Strait, but located closer to the mainland than the main island of Taiwan. It later said a total of 11 Dongpyeong missiles were fired to the waters north, south, and east of the island between 1:56 p.m. and 4 p.m. local time from 1:56 a.m. ET to 4 a.m. ET on Thursday. Chinese state media said that exercises to simulate the air and sea blockade around Taiwan had started Wednesday, but offered little solid evidence to back up the claim. Later Thursday, images showed military helicopters flying past Pintan Island, one of Taiwan's closest points to the mainland China. The military posturing was a deliberate show of force after Pelosi left the island on Wednesday evening, bound for South Korea, one of the final steps on the South Asia tour that ends in Japan this weekend. Within hours of her departure from Taipei on Wednesday, the Iceland Defense Ministry said China sent more than 20 fighter jets across the median line in the Taiwan Strait, the midway point between the mainland and Taiwan that Beijing said it does not recognize but usually respect. Tourists look on as a Chinese military helicopter flies past Pintan Island, one of mainland China's closest point from Taiwan on August 4th, 2022. On Thursday, Taiwan's defense ministry said its military was remaining in a normal but wary posture and called the live fire drills an irrational act that attempts to change the status quo. We are closely monitoring enemy activities around the Sea of Taiwan and that of outlying Iceland, and we will act appropriately, the ministry said in a statement. Taiwan also accused China of following North Korea's example of arbitrary test fire of missiles in waters close to other countries in a statement issued by its Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Thursday. The exercises have caused disruption to flight and ship schedules, with some international flights cancelled and the vessels argued to use alternative route for several ports around the island. Exercises exerting pressure. Well in advance of Pelosi's near 24-hour visit to Taiwan, China had warned her presence was not welcome. The ruling Chinese Communist Party claims the self-governed island as its own territory, despite near having controlled it. China issues the map showing 6 zones around Taiwan that would be the site of drills in coming days. But on Thursday, Taiwan's Maritime and Port Bureau said in a notice that China had added a seventh military exercise area for ships and aircraft to avoid in the waters around eastern Taiwan. China to hold 4-day military drills surrounding Taiwan. Beijing announced the drills after the arrival of U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on the island on Tuesday. Military exercise drones are announced by Chinese People's Liberation Army. Chinese state media on Thursday outlined the broad range of objectives for the exercises, including strikes on land and sea targets. The exercises are focused on key training sessions, including joint blockade, sea target assault, strike on ground target, and airspace control operation, and the joint combat capabilities of the troops got tested in the military operations, said an announcement from the Xinhua news agency attributed to the People's Liberation Armies called the PLA Eastern Theater Command, which has responsibility for the areas near Taiwan. The Chinese military helicopters fly past the Pingtan Island in Fujian province on August 4th. Meanwhile, the Global Times tabloid said the drills involved some of China's newest and most sophisticated war weaponry, including J-20 stealth fighters and DF-17 hypersonic missiles, and that some missiles may be fired over the island, a move that would be extremely provocative. The exercises are unprecedented as the PLA conventional missiles are expected to fly over the island of Taiwan for the first time, the Global Times said, citing experts. The PLA forces will enter areas within 12 nautical miles of the island, and the so-called median line will cease to exist. Accounts from Taiwan of Chinese military movement included the fighter jet crossing the median line, and the report from Taiwan's government-run central news agency, citing government sources that two of China's most powerful warships, Type 55 destroyers, were sighted Tuesday off the central and east-west southeastern coast of the island, and the closest being within 37 miles, 60 kilometers of the land. But there was a little collaboration or firm evidence provided by China to back up the source of claim posted in the Global Times. China's state-run television offered a video of fighter jets taking off ships at sea and missiles on the move, but the date of when that video was shot could not be verified. Some analysts were skeptical Beijing could pull off what they were threatening, such as blockade of Taiwan. The official announcement of the blockade referred to just a few days, which would make it hard to qualify it on practical terms to the blockade, said Alessio Patalano, professor of war and strategy at King's College in London. Blockade are hard to execute and long to implement. This exercise is not that, he said. Patalano said the biggest impact of the exercises would be psychological. During the period of time in question, ships and aircraft will likely reroute to avoid the area, but this is one primary object of the chosen locations: great disruption, discomfort, and the fear of worse to come, he said. Chinese military helicopters fly past Pingtan Island, one of mainland China's closest points from Taiwan on August 4, 2022, rerouting planes and ships. China's retaliatory exercises have already caused disruption to flight and ship schedules to Taiwan, though the Iceland is trying to lessen their impact. Taiwan's transportation minister said the agreement had been reached with Japan and the Philippines to reroute 18 international flight routes departing from the island, affecting around 300 flights in total to avoid the PLA's live fire drills. Korean Air told CNN on Thursday that it has cancelled the flights from Incheon to Taiwan scheduled for Friday and Saturday due to safety reasons while China conducted its military drills. Flight will resume on Sunday. On Wednesday, Taiwan's Maritime and Port Revenue Bureau issued three notices asking vessels to use alternative route 474 around the island. China's planned live fire drills were also causing unease in Japan. Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Hirokazu Masuno said the drills posed the threat to his country's security. One of the 6 exercises areas set up by China was near Japan's Yonaguni Island, part of Okinawa Prefecture and only 68 miles, 110 kilometers off the coast of Taiwan. The same Chinese exercise zone is also close to the Japanese-controlled Senkaku Island, a rocky inhabited chain known as the Diaoyis in China, and over which Beijing claims sovereignty. In particular, a training area has been set up in the waters near Japan, and if China were to conduct live ammunition exercises in such an area, it could affect the security of Japan and its people, Matsuno said. Meanwhile, the United States military was silent on the Chinese exercises and did not provide any answers to the CNN questions on Thursday. Pelosi met Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen in Taipei on August 3rd. Besides keeping a close eye on Chinese military movement around the island, Taiwan also said it would strengthen security against cyber attacks and disinformation campaigns. Taiwan's cabinet spokesperson Lo Ping-chang said in a Western news conference that the government had enhanced the security at key infrastructure points and increased the level of cybersecurity alertness across the government offices. Taiwan is anticipating increased cognitive warfare, referring to disinformation campaigns used to sway public opinion, Lo said. CNN's Wayne Chang and Eric Chang contributed to this report.